Hey guys, and welcome to today's episode. And today I want to share with you why I went from one of these to one of these. Share with you some of the upsides, but also some of the downsides, so you're aware if you're making the switch. So here we go. So before we dive into the positives and negatives between the two, a little bit of background. I used to very much be a boots or bust kind of guy. I saw them as being vital to giving protection, ankle protection, protection for your foot, and they were just basically part of hiking. If you're going hiking and camping, you basically wore a boot. But about two and a half years ago, also when I started to kind of begin to make my gear a lot lighter, started to get behind the ultralight mentality, I came across a lot of people going with trail runners, and I started to do a bit of research into it. And there's actually a lot of evidence and a good school of thinking behind why trail runners are better when it comes to kind of hiking and ultralight camping. Now, they're not going to replace the boot for everything. If you are carrying really heavy loads, you're out on an expedition or something, or if you're kind of in extreme environments, deep snow or whatever, then a trail runner just isn't going to cut it. So it's not a one shoe fits all, pardon the pun. But definitely, if you're a hiker or a camper and kind of 3-season, almost 4-season here in Australia, these will do. With a light pack, then I think these are definitely the way to go over these in my experience. And I guess that's what I want to share with you. Why I really think that trail runners are better than boots for your kind of lighter hiker. So let's get stuck into those. So number one, and probably most important, is comfort. Trail runners, they're made from lighter materials, probably often a little bit, kind of softer. They've got a little bit more padding here or there. The sole is a lot lighter and a lot more flexible compared to, say, a boot, which generally tends to be a lot more stiffer. So, in terms of comfort, trail runners definitely usually win out over a boot. The other big part of comfort is fit. Because, honestly, there are a lot more trail runners out on the market. You're more likely to find a trail runner which is going to fit you better than a boot. A boot tends to be a little bit more specialist. There's not heaps of brands making boots, and I personally really struggled to find a boot which fit my foot. I've got a bit of a wider kind of foot, hence I kind of go with the ultras. And there just weren't a lot of boot manufacturers which kind of made to cater for that. And if they did, a lot of stores didn't have them because they're a little bit more rare, blah, blah, blah. So, that was one of the big reasons, again, I switched to trail runners. It was just so much easier to find a shoe which was really comfortable. And that kind of basically led to less blisters, less kind of, sore feet at the end of a long day, etc. And it was just much more enjoyable, and sore feet and foot care just kind of went right down when I switched over to trail running. Now, along with comfort, and it kind of plays a part with comfort because, like I mentioned, there's a lot more trail runners out there available to buy, is price. Because there's a lot more of these guys, you're probably going to be able to find a cheaper price for them. There's definitely really expensive trail runners out there, but again, because there's more often going to be sales. So if you shop around, you can probably find a pair of trail runners much cheaper than you can find a pair of boots for. Now, the next reason is actually a pet hate of mine. It's kind of good and bad. I hate having wet feet. The good thing about boots is generally they'll keep your feet drier in kind of basic conditions if you accidentally step into a puddle or something like that. But once they get wet, they stay wet. If it's raining, they're going to soak through eventually. If you need to do river crossings, you got to take them off, put them back on. It gets to be a bit of a pain. So look, even though they do keep your feet dry from simpler stuff, and of course there's Gore-Tex. I hate having footwear with Gore-Tex, absolutely hate it. I definitely don't recommend using Gore-Tex in your shoes or your boots, or unless again you're going to those extreme environments like heavy snow where you really need it. But for general hiking, I stay well clear of Gore-Tex. So yeah, once they get wet, they stay wet, and I hate that. With trail runners, they get wet a lot easier, but they dry so much quicker. With river crossings and stuff, I don't even bother taking my shoes off. Like, I'll just go straight through the water with these, and you know, your own body heat will begin to dry these. Let alone you'll get to camp, you start a bit of a fire, you can pop these next to the fire and they'll dry pretty quickly. You know, having nice dry shoes, which means dry feet the next day, is absolutely a big plus when it comes to trail runners, and definitely, in my opinion, a big advantage over boots. Now, the last major point that I'm going to mention why I like trail runners over boots is actually from a safety perspective. Now, there's a lot of talk out there that boots will protect your ankle, etc. And again, if you're carrying really heavy loads of gear, above 20 kilos, 30 kilos, etc., then you're probably going to want boots. But if you're carrying 10, 15 kind of kilo weight range, anything sub 20 really, I think trail runners is actually a safer option. Number one, because of the lighter, more flexible, softer sole, they've often got much better grip. These ultras are incredible when it comes to grip. So scrambling around rock, walking on uneven surfaces, my foot doesn't slip anywhere near as much in these as it has beforehand in boots. But number two, and I guess the easiest way I can explain this is with a rock climbing analogy. If any of you have gone rock climbing and you've tried to wear just regular shoes, it is horrible compared to the difference when you put on proper climbing shoes. They're a lot thinner, a lot smaller, a lot tighter to your foot, and basically you can feel what's under your feet. You can really position your foot in the right place. If your foot begins to slip or if it doesn't feel right, you can feel it and you can adjust it. Same thing with these. My ankle, starts to, have that slip or that roll, but I feel it straight away in these, and I can adjust, I can catch it, I can adjust, and I can basically prevent that roll from happening. Whereas I found with boots, I wasn't able to feel the beginning of that slip or that roll, and they did catch my ankle, but they caught it in terms of because of the material around the ankle. My ankle still started to roll, and it was only the boot that saved it. But with these, I prevent getting to that full-on roll stage because I can feel that slip, I can feel that uneven surface, and my ankle not being too stable, and I can much more easily adjust my foot in that case. So really, I've had a lot fewer kind of ankle strains and injuries and mishaps wearing trail runners than I ever had wearing boots. So when it comes to safety and kind of ankle protection in that regard, for me anyway, personally, again, I have quite a light pack now. I think trail runners are definitely the way to go. Now, there are some negatives when it comes to comparing trail runners to boots. Like I mentioned, boots will keep your feet drier from like the simple light rain, things like that. So look, that's a plus over a trail runner. These things soak through really quick, but they do dry quicker. The other negative that I found is wear and tear. I've been using trail runners for about 2.5 years, and I'm onto my second pair. With boots, I've had these for 6 or 7 years or something like that, and they could probably go for quite a few more, especially if you just resole them. They'll be absolutely fine and they'll just keep going, no worries. Whereas, trail runners, they're made, like I mentioned at the beginning, from kind of lighter, softer material, which more comfortable, dries quicker, etc. But it does wear and tear much easier. So even though these might be cheaper, you'll probably go through them quicker. So just be aware of that. But that's I guess something that you just have to accept when you're going to a much kind of softer and lighter material. But it is a downside, so it is worth mentioning. So yeah, that's really it. Those are the reasons why I switched over to trail runners, and I've kind of stuck with them and have not gone back to boots, and why I'm getting rid of these guys actually. So hope that video was useful for any of you which are considering switching over. Let me know what you guys currently use, why you use it. Are you afraid to switch to, or have any concerns with switching over to trail runners over boots? Have you recently switched over? What do you guys think? Have you had success, or have you gone back? Let me know down in the comments. I'm really curious to find out and hear from you guys, and I'm sure other people would love to see the info as well. So yeah, definitely write down in the comments. So make sure I read every single one. And as always, give the video a like, a thumbs up if you did find it useful. Subscribe if you found it really useful and for more videos. But until next time, happy trails.